So you remember this F word you got in like grade 10 called factoring? Do you remember me saying how important it was, and if you're going on to pre-calc 11, if you can't factor, well, game over, right? So what is factoring? If I have a polynomial, a binomial, times another polynomial known as a binomial, maybe I can know how to multiply these things together. And there's a little acronym we taught you so you could remember how to do that. And it also started with an F, and it was a 4-letter word. Yeah. And if you got enough money, if you get a really good job, your wife can afford to get these in her hair. First, you'll see if you're lucky. Actually, if you're unlucky. X squared. Oh, stay with me. Outside, -2 times x. FOIL. First. Oh, the F first. Okay. Outside. What's I stand for? We're not talking belly buttons here. We're talking math. Inside. These two are inside. 1 and x. Multiply them. That's 1x. I don't have to write the 1, right? And the L stands for last. 1 times -2 minus 2. I have 4 letters, and I have 4 terms. Okay? So I didn't say this, but it doesn't matter what order you multiply them in. You just got to make sure you get your 4 terms. It's just this is a handy dandy little acronym. Okay? We could have loifed it. Okay? We could have ifled. It doesn't matter. You just need your 4 terms. It's distributive law twice if I want to use some Math 9 language. Okay? So if I collect those, what do I have? Minus 2x and 1x is minus 1x, right? Minus 2 plus 1 is minus 1. Minus 2. And that's where we ended it in grade 10. Could you do it? Oh, good for you. We'll give you the mark. What is the name of this thing? That's what we did, but what do we call this thing? Now we know what that is. It's a... Sure.
It makes the thing.
Okay, what chapter are we in, people?
Quadratic.
Hey, there we go. It is a trinomial, not trirad. Trinomial. It's a tri-radiator, man. It's got, like, my car gets so hot I need like 3. It is a quadratic. How do you know it's a quadratic? Because it's got an x squared. Guess what shape it's going to make? Woo. Let's check, shall we? Do we all got one of these? Oh, look. A parabola. So, grade 10 was just the skill. Can you do it? Okay, guess what we're going to do now? Yeah, we're going to actually factor this thing and get that. So I know what that thing looks like, but let's just say that's what I got. And what's the question? The question is, find roots. Yes, it is. Find roots. Okay, now is it a question? What's another word for a root? X-intercept. What's another word for an x-intercept? A 0. That's the one we can use in our calculator and find out. So we know this is the same as this, right? We just multiplied it. Does it matter which one we put in our calculator? You remember the picture of this one? Okay, clear. Let's put that in. Can we do it? X plus 1, is that a quadratic? Betcha you can. Is that the same picture? Well, it better be, because it's the same thing, right?
Why would you even do the other thing then?
That's a really good question, right? My question to you, did you need to do that? Well, some of you will think you need to on the test, but if you're clever and you know that's a quadratic, because you're going to have an x times the next term there, which is x squared, maybe you don't need to do that. Okay, how do I find the roots or x-intercepts or zeros? Graphically, maybe it's right there in front of you. Maybe you just look it up and go, hey, I can see what that one is. I can see what that one is. I could just write them down. But they're not always nice whole numbers, are they? So we better make sure. How can I do that on my calculator? Second function, calculate 0. Let's get the left one first. Go left of it, enter. Go right of it, enter. Is it between those two arrows? Enter. Okay, hey, look, -1. Did it look like -1? That's one of them. X-intercept. Okay, what's the other one? Same thing. Second function, calc 0. Go left of it, enter. Enter. Go right of it, enter. 2. Nice. Got a mark. Does anyone notice anything? Here's a good question. Did I have to do that? Remember what a 0 means? An x-intercept. What happens at an x-intercept? Oh, my Chinese class. Everybody repeat it back to me. What happens at an x-intercept? Oh, very good. Okay, how do I make this thing 0? Okay, pay attention. If that thing is 0, that thing in the brackets, what is 0 times this? What is 0 times anything? 0. What value of x is going to make this equal to 0? What do I add to 1 to get 0? Is that -1? Woo, look at that. If this thing is 0, 0 times anything is 0. What value in this brackets is going to make those brackets 0? What do I add to -2 to get 0? There's the other one. So, did I need to do this? Like, feel free, but just look. What makes this thing 0? That. What makes that 0? That. There's your two answers. That's why you like to see it in factored form. Okay? By all means, do that. Multiply it out, FOIL it. Put that in your calculator. Find the zeros. Okay? But if you're clever, you should be able to look at that and see what the zeros are. X plus 3, x minus 4. Is that thing a quadratic?
Yes.
How do we know? Because your head told you. Because you know it's an x squared term in there. A little bit of review. Is that a quadratic?
No.
Not an x squared anymore. You got an x cubed, right? Somewhere you're going to get an x times an x times an x. Not quadratic. Okay, little review. Same question. What are my x-intercepts? What are my zeros? What are my roots?
-3 and +4.
Can you, a little slower, please? Just back up a bit. What value of x is going to make this thing 0? -3, right? You're all plugged? Okay? And if this thing's 0, I don't care what this is. Anything times 0 is 0. Where y is 0, that's an x-intercept. What value of x is going to make this 0? 4. Do you think this thing looks like this? There's one there. There's one there. Kind of maybe looks like that. It does. I'm not sure how low it goes here, but maybe I could find it out. What would this thing be called? It is well, maybe not the minimum. Maybe the minimum's over here. I know the minimum happens where the vertex is, the axis of symmetry. I'm not sure if that's a minimum, but I do know that's a y-intercept. What happens at the y-intercept? If that's 0 and that's 0, what do I get? -12? Look at that. Now, is there a function on the calculator where I could actually figure that out, the minimum? X plus 3, x minus 4. Kind of look like that? Second function, calculate minimum. Oh, looky there. I want to go left of the minimum, which I can't even see. Actually, I think I need to. I got to go to -15. Otherwise, the calculator will say, can't find it. Second function, calculate minimum. Go left of it. There it is. Go right of it. I think I saw the point already, but anyway, there it is. GG. Ah. So the minimum is not the y-intercept, is it? No, it's a different point. I can calculate the minimum. I just wanted the y-intercept here. Those are different points. Okay, it looks really close, but it's not the same thing. How do you get the y-intercept? Trace. If x is 0, what does that mean? Well, I just did it. Okay, graph, trace. Let's say your thing's over here, right? Put in 0. X is 0. Enter. Bob's your uncle. Well, if you remember how to do it, you can't ask me on the test or the quiz. Mr. Matson, how did it? Nope. Sorry. But that's actually harder than this, isn't it? If x is 0, put them in. What do you get? 3 times -4 is -12. Okay? That's even easier. Okay. Example. Y is x plus 2, x minus 3. I think this is the word the book uses the most, so let's do that. What are the roots? Just shush it. What is the axis? Axis of symmetry. Don't answer. I'm saying questions out loud here, right? And what's the vertex? I'll save you the domain and range stuff that y'all love so much. Okay? So, yeah, I just told you a really, really quick way to find the x-intercepts, the roots, the zeros, same thing. Some of you got it, just like that, okay? Which means, hey, you probably should be in pre-calculus. There's always next year. Right? I could put this in my graphing calculator and just graph it and find it, but if we're good, what are the roots here? When is this thing 0? What value of x? -2. And if this is 0, anything times 0 is 0. Okay? That's an x-intercept. When is this thing a 0? 3. Because 3 take away 3 is 0, right? Okay, there is the x-intercepts. There's my roots. There's my zeros. That's when this thing is 0, equal to 0. That's where they get the word from. Axis of symmetry. Well, now that I know what this thing looks like, I got one there. I got one there. I'm not really sure how deep it goes. Do I know that it opens up? Actually, I should have said that. Does it open up or does it open down? I know it goes through those points, but maybe it looks like that.
It opens up like square.
Yeah, that's an x times an x squared positive, so yes, it opens up. Okay? Axis of symmetry. Where's that? That's where this happens. It's the same point, remember? Where's this thing symmetrical? According to my picture, it looks like it's about here. How can I find where the axis of symmetry is? If I have two equal y points, it's always halfway in between those. So take the average of those two equal y points, and what's that? As an equation, because it's always an equation, x equals something, what's the equation of this dotted line? This mirror where the left side equals the right side. X is 1/2. That's where the vertex is. That is the x coordinate of my vertex. I just need to know the y coordinate of the vertex, because the vertex is always a coordinate point. How can I find out the y coordinate? I already showed you it's a minimum. That's where the vertex is. That's the definition of a vertex. So you can use your graphing calculator, but anyone know how to do that algebraically? If I know that's x, how could I find y? Could I substitute it in there? Ooh, boy. Now, do you like decimals or fractions? I don't know. I think most people like decimals, right? Whoop, -3. That's what y is when x is this coordinate. What is 1/2 and 2? 2.5. What is 1/2 minus 3? Minus 2.5. Make sure you have brackets. It's not subtract, it's multiply. What's 2.5 times 2.5? Oh, that's not 2.5 times 2. What's 25 times 25? Anyone remember?
100.
625. I don't expect you to remember that. -625, but I have two decimals. That's -6.25, okay? I don't expect you to know that. I really don't. But, hey. What is 2.5 times -2.5? -6.25. That's the coordinates of my vertex. 0.5, -6.25. Does it look reasonable? Okay. So, whoop. On the graphing calculator, how do I get where that stuff happens again? The vertex, the axis of symmetry? Well, let's do vertex. The lowest point, I want to calculate a lowest point is called a minimum. 3. Go left of it. Go right of it. Guess. Yes, please. There's the coordinates of your vertex. Okay? You didn't need to do this. You can do it algebraically, but that can be your friend too. Okay? That says the same as that. Okay? So same kind of stuff, only now it's in factored form, which can be your friend. One more. A little different. You will get one question like this on the test. And I've worded this in the past like, okay, if you don't get it, you can probably still get a B, but if you want an A, you're going to need to know how to do this, okay? If y is x minus r times x minus s, that's like half the alphabet, right, in one question, right? Is that a quadratic? There's an x squared term there, isn't there? Where x-intercepts r and s are -1 and 4, and the graph passes through point 012. I know, lots of language. Determine the equation of the quadratic. And if you didn't know it was a quadratic, well, now we're telling you. Okay? Did those other examples kind of look like that form? Did it kind of look like that? They did. Only it was numbers in there for R and S. Coke balls? Really?
What?
No Honey Nut Cheerios today? No cookies? Oh, they're on your backpack. Okay, so that is a quadratic. We're telling you R and S are x-intercepts. And I'm telling you the values of those are -1 and 4. So substitute those right in there for R and S. Okay, that's all it says. So the first thing you want to do is R is that one, S is that one. We could use the word respectively, but it's kind of redundant. So this thing looks like this. X minus, what's R? Liam, stop. This is in grade 8. And S is 4. Okay? So just substitute them in. Now you notice something was kind of tricky? It's minus R. R is -1, so I got to go minus 1. Yeah, so let's fix that up, right? I don't want to look at all those minuses. That's x plus 1 and x minus 4. So what are the roots here? If this is all you had, if you just started with that, tell me when this is 0. -1, bingo. When is this thing a 0? 4, bingo. It's saying the roots are -1 and 4, right? Well, look, does it work? There it is. So what the heck's this A thing? That's the only difference. We've got x's, we've got y's. It's some function y of some function x and that. I got one. That's not a very good picture. One of them's at -1. One of them's at 4. So I know this thing looks like that. But what I don't know is what else is going on. It could look like that. Could look like that. It could look like that. Okay? That's what A does. It tells you the shape of this thing. Every one of these parabolas, hey, what if A was a negative? Might look like that. So I'm not done. That's not the equation of the quadratic until I know what A is. How do I find out what A is? Well, why do you think we give you this point? Is that a point on this parabola? It tells you it passes through that point. It's got to work in this equation, which means now I'm going to substitute that point in here and solve it for A. X is 0. Y is 12. Can you solve that thing for A? Well, if you want to get the question right, you're going to have to. Okay, so again, make it look a little nicer. Let me get my page bigger. Okay, 12 is A. What's 0 and 1? 1. What's 0 minus 4? Minus 4. What is A times 1? A times negative 4? Isn't that just minus 4A? Solve it for A. Divide both sides by negative 4. What's A? A is negative 3. So I didn't answer the question. I want the equation. So the equation is y is negative 3, x plus 1, x minus 4. That's the equation of this particular quadratic. So it actually does go upside down. Okay, so like I said, that will be a question on the test. And if you want to mark, which is, you know, hey, if the test is out of 20, that's 5%, isn't it? Still get 95 without getting it, but that means you got to get everything else right. One question on the one test. No. Okay? 391, 1 to 4. And worksheets. For those of you who ain't gotten done.